Today, we're diving into something pretty amazing, the science journey of a first grader. And it's not what you might think. It's not just about memorizing facts. It's about lighting that very first spark of scientific curiosity.
And this quote, it really just nails it, doesn't it? The whole curriculum is built on this one simple truth. Kids are already curious. They're natural explorers. So the goal isn't to create curiosity from scratch, but to take that raw, natural wonder and just give it a little direction.
So instead of just being told that the sun rises in the east, a first grader is encouraged to ask, hey, why does it get bright in the morning? And then they learn the tools to actually go find the answer themselves. It's a really big shift from just knowing what to understanding how you know.
Now, there's a name for this approach. It's called inquiry-based learning, and it's pretty much exactly what it sounds like. It's all about learning by doing, by asking questions, getting your hands dirty, and talking through what you're discovering. And the reason this is so effective is that it builds real critical thinking skills. And let's be honest, they'll remember it way better than if they just read it in a book.
So what does that actually look like in the classroom? Well, it's kind of like a simple 4-step recipe. You start with a question, you make a plan and a guess, you go out and find the clues, the evidence, and then you stop and think about what you found. This little 4-step cycle is the engine that drives the entire year of discovery. Okay, so that brings us to their first big mission, and I love the name for this, Reading the World's Diary. Here, students basically become little environmental detectives, learning to read the story that the world is telling them every single day through all its changes. The investigation starts by learning to spot patterns. First, you've got those quick, familiar cycles, like day and night. And then you've got the slower, bigger cycles, like summer turning into winter. They're both patterns, just moving at different speeds. So how do they keep track of all these changes? They learn to use their own senses as scientific tools, feeling the temperature on their skin, noticing the amount of light outside, watching how the plants and animals are behaving. This is data collection at its most pure and fundamental level.
And this is how all that information gets organized. A simple log like this isn't just a one-and-done worksheet. Nope. This is a long-term study. It teaches kids how to record what they see systematically, turning those little fleeting moments into a real set of data they can look back on. And this is about more than just tracking the weather. The real goal here is to start making predictions. You know, if a student sees the leaves falling off the trees, they can start to predict that maybe some animals are getting ready to hibernate. Observation leads to understanding, and that leads to prediction.
All right, quest number 2 takes them from the patterns of the physical world to the amazing interconnected web of life itself. This is where we zoom right into biology.
And that whole exploration starts with just appreciating how much life is buzzing all around them. The curriculum gets kids to really notice the incredible variety of living things, even in their own backyard, from the tiniest little ant on the sidewalk to the biggest tree in the park. As they're observing all of this amazing diversity, a really important idea starts to click. It turns out that despite all their differences, all living things share a common set of needs. This is a huge foundational concept in biology, and it's presented in a way that's super simple and clear.
Okay, so once they understand that all living things have these common needs and characteristics, they can start thinking like real scientists. They can start grouping things together. You know, these have wings, these have roots, these have fur. This is the very beginning of classification, of bringing a little bit of order to the beautiful complexity of nature. And that leads to a huge realization. As the curriculum itself says, all living things are interconnected. And that's such a profound idea, isn't it? It's not just a random collection of plants and animals, it's a dynamic system where everything affects everything else. You know, when you understand that connection, it naturally leads to this really powerful idea, stewardship. The curriculum teaches that because we're all part of this incredible web, we have a shared responsibility to take care of it. That's a vital lesson to learn so early on. And that sense of having a responsibility to the world, well, it leads perfectly into the final challenge. Because how do we care for the world? By solving problems. This is where students get to put everything they've learned into practice and go from being scientists to becoming engineers. I absolutely love this example because it's so creative and fun. Instead of some dry, abstract problem, they get to solve a challenge from a story every kid knows and loves. It just makes engineering feel like play. But hold on, before they can build, they have to investigate their materials. What are the properties of this stuff? Is straw strong? Are these blocks sturdy? This step connects right back to their observation skills, but now they're applying them with a very specific goal in mind. And here you can see the whole engineering process. It's really interesting how much it looks like that scientific inquiry method from earlier, right? Investigate, select, construct, and then, and this is the crucial part, test it. Does it actually work? This is problem solving in action. So, after these 3 big quests, what's the ultimate reward of this whole journey? What have these young scientists actually walked away with?
Well, it all really comes down to these 3 foundational learning outcomes we've been talking about: analyzing change in the environment, understanding that web of life, and then applying all that knowledge to create something new. Each quest builds right on top of the last one.
But this, right here, this is the real takeaway. The content might be about seasons and animals, but the skills they're learning are for life. Scientific inquiry, problem solving, and independent thinking. I mean, these are tools they are going to use in every class and in every part of their lives.
Ultimately, this is the transformation we're talking about. A first grader might start the year just looking at the world, but they end the year knowing how to ask questions about it, how to analyze it, and even how to build things to improve it. They go from just being in the audience to being up on the stage.
Which leaves us with one final and I think crucial question. The school year provides the framework and lights that first spark. But that curiosity, that way of thinking, it needs to be fed. So the real challenge for all of us, for parents, educators, for everyone, is how do we keep that fire burning long after first grade is over?